Good news. Jobkeeper numbers have halved. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I'm standing here with my boiling hot coffee because it is damn cold here in Brisbane at the moment. Like it's 11 degrees the last time I checked. Perfect weather in the Sunshine State. And I've had a few people ask me to do some good news articles because the constant stream of negative news can wear thin a little bit and can get to you. Now, I appreciate that. I'm not the perpetual pessimist as some of you may think, or the perma bear. I have done a bit of exploration of stoicism, so I tend to perhaps focus on the negative aspects of predictions, because being the cynical bastard I am, I think one should prepare for that. The current state of the economy in Australia, and looking forward, I think is definitely going to be a challenging time. I think the question of us heading into a recession has already been settled. The question is, will it be a prolonged recession, and could it eventually be remembered as a depression? But with all of that, there will be opportunities that emerge from it. And I would argue the best way to see these opportunities and to seize them is for the government to step back and allow some creative destruction to occur in the economy, in the market. Because then that clears away the old growth, the dead zombie companies, the businesses that haven't really innovated, and allows for new emergence to come up from the undergrowth. That's why I'm worried about all this government calls for government intervention. And tough times, sure, we'll all go through them, but they make you more resilient. It's the same thing as being a parent. You don't want to coddle your kids. You don't want to be a helicopter parent, because then you'll screw up your children, guys. You'll screw them up when they get older. We've all seen it. We've all met people like that out in real life that just can't handle it. But then again, that's probably a little too politically incorrect nowadays. Been listening to too much Jordan Peterson. Oh no. So as part of that, I will look at some good news elements. And here's one that I think we can all be happy and sad about too, is the Jobkeeper stuff-up. $60 billion mistake. Well, not really. Not really 60. It hasn't cost us that. I mean, it's all government funny money. More so just the reporting of it and the collecting of the data, which I can understand why it happened. Because, honestly, it's probably better that the Treasury just made sure they got out there to help people. Because this, for a lot of people, this is their never again lesson. They're learning that they need to have a little bit more of a stash put aside. A little bit more. So let's have a look at this, everyone. Let's have a look at this. Treasurer's excuse for the $60 billion Jobkeeper stuff-up. And remember, Treasurer, remember the government are also, pushing for a cash ban restrictions, which I've heard has been dropped off the table, which I'm yet to see an official statement somewhere. If someone can let me know in the comments, that'd be great. So, it was meant to be the program that helped Australia through the pandemic, but has led to a $16 billion stuff-up. Here's what doesn't add up. So, as peed and thimble tricks go, it was in... What the... Okay, anyway, Prime Minister Scott Morrison announces an unprecedented $130 billion wage subsidy scheme in March, promising it will help save 6 million jobs. It is rolled out at high speed, hitting millions of workers' bank accounts in May, and reaching the target of 6 million workers covered last week. Now here's the thing, guys. It's a subsidy for businesses to keep that relationship happening. Even some businesses that are running, they're still receiving it. They're still receiving the job seeker. It's not a payment to the worker, it's a payment to the business that helps subsidize the costs of keeping that person on the books. So I appreciate how the goal is to maintain that relationship between the worker and the employer. I appreciate how the reasoning behind that. So, I mean, there you go. We're paying a little bit extra for Jobkeeper as opposed to Job Seeker. Another thing, well, I'm cynical that it's all designed to minimize the unemployment rate, but then again, I don't even trust the ABS data anymore. I'm more interested in the Roy Morgan data, and I'm more interested in this number here, the unemployment and underemployment. This is what we should be talking about in the news. This is what we should be talking about. And that is sitting at about 24.7%. So 25% of the workforce are either underemployed or unemployed. That's what we should worry about, everyone. Nevertheless, let's have a look at this. It turns out that demand for the Jobkeeper scheme is exactly half what was expected. As cock-up goes, it was an accounting error for the ages. So good news is the scheme will only cost $70 billion. So there you go, guys. I mean, this is encouraging. This is encouraging that the need for businesses to depend on Job Seeker. Now, could it be just the stuff up? Or could it be, well, having to deal with the government? Or have these people... Here's the thing. Have the people been laid off instead? Or are people just sick of dealing with government paperwork? The bad news is only 3 million workers are getting paid the $1,500 a fortnight wage subsidy. That's a $60 billion stuff-up. It's also $60 billion less cash stimulus hitting the economy just as Australia enters into recession. Yeah, well, you know, I'd rather the government doesn't bring forward future taxation now. Treasury has claimed that without Jobkeeper, the unemployment rate would be 15%, not 10% forecast. Well, right now, Roy Morgan's telling us it's at, 9%? 15.3. Yeah, unemployment. They're saying we're already at 15.3. So just pick your medicine, guys. Pick your medicine. What flavor do you want? So, what happens now? As Labour's Treasury spokesman Jim Chambers observed, for weeks the Morrison government has been telling casuals and other excluded workers that the Jobkeeper program was full, when in reality it was 3 million workers short. If they can't get this basic maths right now, how can we expect them to get the recovery right, he said. Well, that's the thing. We don't want them to get the recovery right. We want the government to step back and let the market and the economy have the freedom, the breathing room it needs to get rid of the dead weight in the economy, to force people to make those difficult decisions, to make those changes, for businesses to pivot. For people who've maybe had it a little bit too cushy and too good in their jobs to realize, okay, it's time to do something different. Okay, we need to get rid of that jet ski. We don't need to live in such opulence. Why are we showing off to the Joneses? I don't even like the Joneses. Stuff the Joneses. No. More money printing, more handouts. Of course, the mass jibe is pure politics. Treasury officials and economists are not psychics. Really? Even if some of their predictions suggest you would be better off calling an astrologer for an economic forecast. Well, I'll just put up this chart here, guys. Forecasting how many companies would apply for Jobkeeper in the middle of a pandemic is not easy. Remember, Treasury came up with the 6 million job figures in March, when it was expected that states might embrace even tougher lockdowns, including shutting down construction sites. Getting it out by 3 million workers and 60 billion, though, that does seem impressive. Still, it's a good problem to have, because despite the brief sting of humiliation, there's a long-term benefit to the federal budget. Well, yes, no, this is good news, everyone. This is good news. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg and taxpayers basically just got a hit in the arse by a rainbow, to steal Paul Keating's famous line, because that's 60 billion Australians will no longer need to borrow and spend decades paying back. However, there are a few things about Josh Frydenberg's story that do not add up. Let's start with the claim the fiasco was sparked by employers filling out confusing forms, because if you believe that, you believe anything. Well, honestly, I believe that could be the problem. Have you ever, a journalist working for news.com, I doubt she's ever done her BAS. I doubt she's ever had to handle all the forms from government. Have you ever done the process of just, stamp duty and all the forms and rubbish to change ownership? Or what about filing someone's death? Bloody hell, the government always has their hands in. Can you tell I don't like government forms, everyone? Can you tell? You surprised? Let me know in the comments what your favourite form is from government. The Treasurer was informed of the 60 billion stuff-up on Thursday night by the ATO. The ATO told the Treasurer that a reporting error in the estimates of the number of employees likely to access the Jobkeeper program was to blame. The most common error was inflating the number of employees they expected to be eligible. For example, instead of putting 1 in the form, they put in 1,500, the amount of Jobkeeper they expected to secure. I can see some people doing that. I can definitely see some people doing that. But this is an excuse for not spotting the area earlier. It's not an explanation for why Treasury did not correctly forecast how many workers would be eligible for Jobkeeper in the first place. It's Treasury. It's Treasury. Why are you surprised? You know, they think implementing processes to ban cash transactions over $10,000 when there's so few of them in place is worth all the extra pain they're going to cause to their citizens, all the extra bureaucracy they're going to create. It's not their job. They don't know about reality. They're politicians. They're bureaucrats. They just know about creating a narrative. Or is that just too cynical for a Saturday morning, guys? Remember, weeks before the ATO ever devised the confusing form, Prime Minister said the scheme would cost $130 billion and help 6 million workers. Yeah, well, wasn't that the goal? The confusing form had nothing to do with the original prediction. Treasury is still conducting a review of the Jobkeeper scheme that will be concluded in June. The discovery of the $60 billion accounting error will not fill the Morrison government with confidence about its findings. It will increase the pressure on the PM to extend the scheme to more casuals and even Australian workers working for overseas companies. However, the PM has offered little indication he is enthused by that idea. The Treasurer's forecast no wholesale changes, only adjustments. Instead, expect less economy-wide measures and more Jobkeeper-style schemes targeting specific industries. Tourism Minister Simon Birmingham flagged more assistance on Friday for tourist operators hit hard by international border closures. The PM has also hinted at fixing anomalies, which could include extending the $1,500 flat rate payment to casuals who previously earned far less. This time, let's hope they can add up. Well, a bit of a jibe there, you know. Still, everyone, it is good news. It is good news that there are less people requiring it, and there's less cost associated with it. I just hope maybe it'd be nice for the government to say, okay, because we're not incurring this huge loss on this, we're going to have a 6-month tax reprieve on this tax. We're going to help stimulate the economy by reducing the tax on all these things that people enjoy. You know, maybe we need to get rid of the Karens in the world. Oh, I'm going to do another video about all the dibber-dobbers here in Australia. Get rid of the Karens and remove some of these sin taxes on alcohol, petrol, cigarettes. And let people have the freedom to make their own minds up and spend their own money. But no, we don't need that. Anyway, guys, there you have it. Some good news for everyone. Let me know what you think. You happy about this? Do you think it's encouraging? Or does it just add to your lack of confidence in our glorious leaders? As always, thank you all for watching. And please, if you have any other suggestions for good news videos I can do, let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support the channel, there are a few ways you can. You can join on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.